That's what they're for. Long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, a little boy was born. The boy was raised as a man and dying a pauper, but he was a giant of a man. Not like Fezzik. No, that's inconceivable. And not even like Vicini. Narrator's note, Vicini and Fezzik is from The Princess Bride. End quote. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because that's a totally different story. I want you all to relax and hear the story about Ignaz, a man helping us to see. Ignaz Philip Semmelweis was born in Hungary, in Budapest. He was born in 1818, but I want us to fast forward a little bit until 1846. In 1846, Ignaz Semmelweis worked at the General Hospital in Vienna, at the maternity ward. He worked at one of two maternity wards, and they had women of ill repute taken into the hospital to see if they could figure out what was going on with childbed fever. Childbed fever was plaguing Europe at the time. As much as 20% of women would die in childbirth, and they had no explanations. Ignaz worked there together with his friend Jacob. Jacob. I can't understand it. We have two wards here at the hospital. With two wards. In our ward, we doctors, we have a death rate of 30%. 30%. And in the other ward, run by women. Come on, women. Midwives. And their death rate is only 1%. What is happening? What is going on? I can't understand it. Ignaz was a rational man, a very smart man, and he was trying to figure out what was happening and why it was happening. We have to understand that 1846 is a time when all illnesses were supposedly the result of the imbalance of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And diseases were spread through bad air, through ghost, bad air, something called miasmas. But Ignaz was smarter than that. He thought maybe there is something beyond these four humors and the miasmas that is the cause of the childbed fever we see. One day in 1847, he's on the floor and he's doing autopsy with his good friend Jacob. And as they're cutting up this poor woman who just died in childbed fever, Jacob cuts himself. He cuts himself pretty badly in the hand. And of course, Ignaz runs over to his friend and tries best to do what medicine said at the time. They put a big bandage on and they let some of his blood out. Because that was a remedy for almost anything. You let the blood out. And you could do it with insects or you could cut. But that was the thing. But Ignaz didn't get better. Jacob didn't get better. Later that night, Jacob is trembling in fever. He's sweating, he's cold. his best friend standing by his bed, realizing that my best friend is going to die. And that night, Jacob died. Now, Ignaz Semmelweis was nothing if not a true professional. The day after, he made an autopsy of his best friend. I would have a hard time doing that, but I'm not Ignaz. What Ignaz saw stumped him, because what he saw in his friend was the same changes as he saw with the women with childbed fever. The same changes. He thought for a while, wiping his bloody hand and filled with gore and blood on his black pants leg. Thinking about it and thinking maybe there is something like a cadaverous particle that is transferred when we first do the autopsy and then don't wash our hands before we go and deliver kids. Because that's what they used to do. The doctor would go from an autopsy where they just autopsied a woman who died of childbed fever and go and deliver a child. And today, that's crazy. Today, that's insane. But Ignaz thought, what is the strongest solution I know that we can put on our hands? So he started to use chlorinated lime, and he washed his hand with chlorinated lime. And he made everybody wash their hands with chlorinated lime. And the death rate went down to 0%. Now Ignaz was trying to sell this to his colleagues. Look here, I got proof that washing your hands will actually lower the death rate. But his friends and colleagues wouldn't believe him. They wouldn't believe him. Do you mean that I, as a gentleman, is unclean? It was a badge of honor to have blood and gore on your pants when you were a doctor. But Ignaz was trying hard to convince everybody around him. He spoke, he wrote books, he wrote treatises, and finally he became insane that people wouldn't listen to him. The people wouldn't listen to him trying to save lives. So Ignaz was taken into an asylum. He was whipped the first day in the asylum, and 10 days later he died of sepsis. The same illness he'd been fighting for so long. The same bacteria he's been fighting for so long. But Ignaz helped us see further. Isaac Newton once said, "If I see further, it is because I stand on the shoulder of giants." And Ignaz helped us see further. He helped us see that maybe there is something to hygiene. Maybe there is something to washing your hands after an autopsy before you go to a maternity ward. He laid the ground for guys like Louis Pasteur, Lister, William Osler. That, my friends, is a giant, a man who helped us see. Thank you.